suggest, like, let's say you've had a bad night and you're like, oh, I'm doing the things, but it just so happened, like, having a couple bad nights, something really stressful is going on. And like, is it about self-care, like compassion, like maybe just go sit in the sun for a minute? Like, what do you suggest when your body is just burned and tired and you're just trying to not, face plant into like Ben and Jerry's? Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode, my 2-part conversation with Dr. Kate Dwyer, where we'll dive even deeper into understanding blood sugar and gut health, the interplay of hormones and stress, and Kate's top nutritional strategies for hormone health. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone you know who could benefit from the conversation. And remember, you can also watch the video versions of all my podcasts on YouTube. Just search @IHealKids.
Yeah, I would say, honor your body, honor your health. Seeing the sun is always a good idea for resetting that diurnal rhythm, that natural rhythm we have in our body. Working on regulating that nervous system, coming up with ways to regulate that nervous system and have outlets that are healthy and align with your health goals. I have an awesome friend. You should totally check her out, Alexa Dwyer. She's an occupational therapist and she works on women with dysregulated nervous systems and coming up with ways to just have like tiny moments where women can step back and regulate their nervous system. Right? Because all of that, the kids, trying to get your attention, the elder care, the bills, it all, that's a lot of mental load. So how can we, recognize that those things need to be done, but also take a break, take some deep breaths and regulate that nervous system. I also, really encourage folks to do the protein, I know protein is getting a lot of airtime these days, but protein really helps with blood sugar regulation. And when we have dips or highs, that can make our body release stress hormones like the cortisol and adrenaline to help stabilize it. And we don't want that, right?
Yeah.
We don't, we want some of that. We want that. That's a good, like something to happen in there and now, but we don't want that to happen long term, just constantly going up and down. Fiber too is so important for the gut. There's such an overlap between the gut and the nervous system. Your gut makes 95% of your serotonin, 50% of your dopamine. So always, always, always take care of your gut if you want a healthy, regulated nervous system.
I think like one thing that's very interesting, and I'll just put a finer point on it or just make it a little more granular, is what you're pointing to is care for our HPA axis, our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
Yes.
So that's kind of colloquially known as adrenal fatigue, although that's not exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Like if you have been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, you don't need cortisone. You don't need to go to the ER and get like hydrocortisone shots if you're sick. That's like not what we're talking about. We're talking about like when you're super stressed and you're not doing things to regulate, your brain will then send signals to your pituitary gland, which will then send signals to your adrenal glands, which live right above the kidneys. And those are the things that pump out all these stress hormones. And to your point, like when you're stressed and all of that, then you start craving sugar and you start getting tired and you don't move. And then this affects the hormones. Now, like, how does it also relate to ovarian hormones? Because I think this is something that confuses people because there's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is the hormone gland that lives above our kidneys. But then there's also the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So like that is also affected because the pituitary is sending signals to our ovaries as well.
Right.
So like when people have really dysregulated, or at least in my experience, and I hope you can speak to this too, when people have really dysregulated adrenals, the ovaries can also be a little wackadoo. And so sometimes, and thyroid too, by the way, thyroid as well. So like sometimes if we don't get that regulated or at least work on it, it's really hard to get everything else shifted. And I find sometimes people are like looking at me like, I came to you because I've got gut issues and my hormones are off. I'm getting night sweats and you're talking to me about my adrenals. Like, why are you talking about that? And this is why, because everything's related. But do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the HPO axis, the opportunity. Yes. So if, I think this extends to nutrition too. We know that if we are under eating, right, we're going to have spikes in cortisol too. And we know when we are under eating, we are going to have lower progesterone and estrogen. I also see this in clients where they're stressed out. Maybe they had death or in the family or divorce,
Mhm.
their hormones tank, they're low. And so we work on stress management. How do we support that? We can support it through adaptogens, doing some self care,
Mhm.
eating a good, stable diet to help make sure that we are nourishing the hormones. And because micronutrients actually are cofactors, and where factors are things that enzymes in our bodies need to make these hormones and neurotransmitters. And they often don't get enough attention
Mhm.
in the medical space, but having a good nutrient dense
Yeah.
diet can really also help mitigate some of those effects of stress. But also, staying hydrated too. Staying hydrated. If we're dehydrated, we're going to have higher elevations in cortisol as well.
Okay. So I want to let me just make sure that like for people that may not know. Okay, so like micronutrient, that means like your vitamins and your minerals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then like your vitamins and your minerals are basically like a spark plug. So if y'all
Yeah.
are into mechanics, which I don't know why, but I recently, oh, I know why. My husband took me to the automotive museum and then we started watching all these automotive documentaries. That's why it's on my mind. But if you have a spark, right, in your car,
Yeah.
that lights the gas on fire, from my limited experience. If there's an automotive technician out there, please let me know if this is wrong. And then the gas goes on fire, and then that pumps everything up and down, and your car starts moving. That's what's happening with these
Mhm.
enzymatic reactions in your body. You've got one thing,
Right.
you want to make it into another
Uh,
thing. And in order to do that, you got to use that little spark plug. And what is the spark plug? It's your micronutrient
it's
or AKA your
vitamins,
vitamin
minerals.
or your mineral. And
Yeah.
so like, that's where I don't know how you feel, but that's where I get a little, like, edgy when people are like, "Okay, I'm only gonna eat meat, but nothing else." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Why? Why would you
Right.
wanna do that?" And I'm like, "You
Yeah.
need some color. We gotta get some color. We gotta get those polyphenols. We gotta get all the things, right?"
Hmm.
And also to your point, like sometimes people need extra support from an actual nutritionist because I will tell you in medical school, now obviously I've gone on and learned a lot more about nutrition in my years, but in med school, it was like the advice was eat your fruits and veggies. That's great advice. Please do it. But there wasn't much more beyond that, you know?
Hmm.
And so some doctors they actually don't know. They don't
Hmm.
know. And so, like, asking them, they can diagnose your diabetes really well. They can do that test, but they may not be the best person for like exactly what to eat during different conditions and things like that. So
Hmm.
that's another reason I think people need to work with you. So I cut you off and I started off on a tangent, which I often do. Um, but continue.
Yeah, yeah. So, if we're thinking about mental health and how our mental health then affects our ovaries, we want to make sure that our like neurotransmitters are firing on all cylinders and that we have, good brain connection, right?
Hmm.
If we're talking about that pituitary and hypothalamus, they're both in their brain. We want them working as best as they can. So we will make sure that we have those nutrients on board to support the neurotransmitters that doing all the talking in that area.
And the neurotransmitters are basically the hormones in our brain
Brain,
that help
yes.
us do different things like serotonin, the happy, calm one,
Hmm.
or dopamine, the focus
This
one.
one.
And I know you want to talk about this, and we teased it. So,
Yes.
choline. Choline is important for this. So, what is it? Where do we get it? What does it do? Why aren't people talking about choline more? Tell us everything.
Yeah. I don't know why people aren't talking about choline more because it's definitely a very important nutrient. And 90% of Americans are deficient, especially teenage girls and or just women in general. Choline acts as the precursor to the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, right?
Hmm.
Acetylcholine supports things like memory, focus, mood. It supports like cell membranes. So we go back to high school biology. We think about cell membranes. Choline goes in between those cell membranes to kind of stabilize it and makes it happy. So we always want happy
Hmm.
cells. If we want happy cells, we need choline. It's anti-inflammatory. One of the huge problem or one of the issues with during perimenopause is that inflammation goes up. So we're always looking at ways to lower inflammation, and choline can be part of that strategy. Choline helps prevent fatty liver. That's a huge issue in kids these days, as well as
Huge.
women during the perimenopause and menopause transition. It helps
Mhm.
export fat and cholesterol out of the liver.
So basically, like, if we wanna feel like all of us who are, like, brain foggy, moody, irritable, perimenopause, menopause, and we've got a little extra pounds, and now we're starting to deposit the fat in organs that help us detox, like our liver. One of the things we wanna do is get choline. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
And that's because it helps make acetylcholine, which is the thing that, like, makes us not brain foggy and calm and not as irritable, along with many other things.
Right. Yeah. So your acetylcholine is actually the main neurotransmitter of the vagal nerve. So I don't know if we kind of hit on this, but the vagal nerve is goes from your brain into your gut, and it kind of it regulates this fight or fight, rest and digest system
Mm.
that we have going on. So we always want to lean into that rest and digest. And that can be really hard if we don't have like a strong vagal nerve tone.
Mhm, mhm. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So, like, I'm feeling this when, okay, like, let's say I have back to back patients and then it's
Hmm.
like lunch, but I've got like emails to do and patient portal messages to respond to. Love you guys. And I have 10 minutes to eat my lunch. And my stomach is so tight. And my digestive enzymes, I can tell you, it's like not working because I'm getting reflux. And then I can't breathe. And then I'm trying to like, eat something healthy like in 5 seconds and I feel physically ill, like that is not rest
Mm,
and digest. That
no.
is like fight, flight, and your body's trying to do something that it's not supposed to do in that moment. And so we have to like start, or at least I think this is what you're saying, we have to start improving what's called our vagal tone, which is like the way that we can move our body into rest digest. So like things like
Yes.
deep breathing or a little
Hmm.
meditation or like
Hmm.
don't answer an email right that second and go
Right.
for a walk and then come back to it. And so doing those things can also help.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There are many
Okay.
different ways that we can strengthen our vagal nerve.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that, where is choline? Can you go
Yeah.
to the store and buy like a choline supplement? Like what do I do?
Yeah. So you can go to the store and buy a choline supplement. But, if we're going for a food first approach, which I always encourage folks to do before
Yes.
going and spending more money on supplements, I always want clients to spend more money on food rather than supplements. Unless you are someone like me who has an egg sensitivity or egg allergy, you're avoiding eggs for any reason, because eggs are a great source of choline.
Yes.
Liver, I know a
Liver
lot of
is
people are.
such an interesting one for people, although my dad is in love with liver and
Yeah,
kidney pie, but he is British, so that's a
yeah,
different thing. But sometimes I see, like, grind it up in, like, ground beef or something.
yeah, and now there are lots of blends out there too that include liver, so it makes it a little bit more palatable. I know Hickory Nut Gap has an ancestral blend, and then also there's another brand called Force of Nature, and they
Mm,
that brand actually has a chicken blend, and that's much more mild than the beef or another animal liver. Salmon,
okay.
also a great source.
Love me some salmon.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we probably aren't going to eat salmon 3 times a day. So we need to probably eat about 3 eggs a day to meet our needs.
Okay.
Yeah. 2 to 3
So
eggs a
let's say
day.
I
Yeah.
eat 1 egg a day, which I do, and then most days. I don't know. Yeah, most days. And then I eat, like, I don't know. What did I eat the night before yesterday? What did I eat last night? I can't remember. How bad is that? I can't even remember. Curry, we had chicken curry soup, curry carrot soup with coconut milk, cilantro, bell pepper, and something else mixed in it. Thank you, Jeff, my husband, who made that. So I'm gonna eat that for lunch today. And then
Hmm.
I don't know what I'm having for dinner tonight because I have to go to the store. So, like, is that enough choline or do I need to go to the store now and like get some eggs?
Yeah. You probably need some more choline in your diet. Potatoes also have some choline in them, but just not that much. And then if you were to eat 2.5 cups of soybeans a day, So, like, edamame,
Mm.
then you meet your
Mhm.
choline needs if you're, a beginner or if you're vegetarian. So
Okay, so, like, maybe if I'm making, like, a little salad or something, throw some soybeans on there, some little edamames. Alright, have a little edamame moment. I love those little pods for kids, by the way. They love to pop the
yeah.
little edamames out. It's super fun.
Yeah.
And then maybe, like, think about, like, actually eating liver ever, which, like, let's be honest,
Mhm.
I don't know if I've ever, like, eaten liver. Maybe at my dad's house, with
Yeah.
the liver and kidney pie. I'll figure out a way to get more liver.
Yeah.
Okay, and then okay, so let's say I've gotten enough choline, and then my body is just gonna make acetylcholine, and then I'm good?
Yeah, yeah, your body will then make acetylcholine. You also need some thiamine on board, so that's another type of B vitamin to help make
B
that.
vitamins. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, good. So that's another case for, like, we don't just wanna single out one
one nutrient.
ingredient. We
Yeah.
wanna be eating a variety of foods with different micronutrients and all of that so that our body can do those enzymatic reactions that
Mhm.
we were talking about to actually make the things
Yes.
that we want it to make.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So everyone is dying to know where you are because you're super smart, you're super fun. I love you and they should all see you. And I really, really wanted to have you on this pod because you're super unique because you actually take insurance for
Yes.
preventive nutrition counseling, which is hard to find in the holistic world. So how can like women take advantage of that benefit and work with you?
Yeah, so, most insurance plans cover nutrition counseling 100% as a preventative benefit. Of course, that varies plan to plan. So $0 copay to see me, that's part of my business strategy and wanting to offer a functional nutrition and have it be more accessible to people because I know that for some folks, that's just not financially viable. So you can find me through my website, www.katedwyer, Dwyer is my last name, nutrition.com, or also on Instagram. My handle is Kate Dwyer RD. And from there, you can go find the book link and book an appointment that way. I don't gatekeep appointments. I have booking available through my electronic medical record.
Okay, that is amazing. So I want to wrap up, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but if you had to list like the top three things nutritionally that you want, or whatever, exercise, stress management,
Mhm.
whatever you want to say, what are like the top three things for people in perimenopause and menopause to support their hormone health in your view? And maybe I should say stop
Yeah,
top five, but
tough.
whatever you want to say.
And I don't know. That's a lot. That's a loaded question there, Ellie.
There's a lot to unpack. You're
It's
like,
a
there's a
lot to
top
unpack.
30.
Yeah. So one, sleep, 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 sleep. Like if you're not sleeping well, going back to the HPA regulation, like that's just not going to happen. So sleep first and foremost, like figure out what is going on. We know that lower progesterone levels also can disrupt sleep. And that is because one of the progesterone metabolites activates GABA, and that's another neurotransmitter. So what can we do nutritionally to focus on supporting GABA as something I help clients with in my practice? Also, the gut microbiome. Oh man, low estrogen leads to increased intestinal permeability. So, what can we do to help the gut microbiome? It also the gut microbiome also shifts during perimenopause, and that's also linked to metabolic risk, hormone metabolism, hormone changes, inflammation, bone health, brain health. I could go on and on. So I always, like if we're looking at, symptoms of perimenopause, I always first and foremost go to gut. Like, what can we do to improve gut? Because that's going
Yeah.
to have the most impact on all those symptoms. And then secondly, looking at insulin resistance. Is that part of your picture?
Yeah, it's kinda like when people are asking me, like, what's the most important thing in functional medicine, I'm like, "It's literally all related to everything." Like,
Right. It's
I
all
don't know what
connected. It's
to
all
tell you.
connected.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
And then it's like everyone, and myself included, like, we want the magic bullet, but it's like everything all at once all the time, and, like, we all
Mhm.
mess up, and then it's just a matter of, like, trying to get back to, or at least in my experience, to get back to, like, what we can be doing, and then also fight off my tortilla chip addiction, which I'll be coming to
Yeah.
see you for.
Yeah. I mean, I always encourage people to have moderation too, so
Yeah.
in my practice, I encourage like the 80-20 rule where 80% of what we eat is really clean, awesome foods. And then we have a little bit more fun with that 20%.
Yeah, yeah, me too, I
Yeah.
love that. I mean,
Yeah.
we live in the real world, so it's kinda hard to be 100% all the time.
Yeah. It's not possible.
Well, Dr. K. Dwyer, thank you so much for coming. Like, you're amazing. Your practice is amazing. The work that you do is truly like, thank you for doing that because you're a light in this world, like helping women with their nutritional health. And I 100% agree with everything that you're saying here, especially, and maybe there's some functional medicine doctors out there that are going to kill me for saying this, but I'll say it anyway, especially your supplements don't need to become your permanents. I mean, maybe there's a
Yeah.
few, but really,
Mhm.
like, we gotta put in those foundations of
Right.
we've gotta do the nutrition and the exercise and the things that we hate doing because otherwise we're just not gonna get better. So, thank you for
Right.
for that point. All right, guys. Well, I am wishing you well. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Dr. Ellie.